Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do this video, which is like the bookshelf scavenger hunt video, because I'm trying to think of more ideas for reading vlogs where I only read like 1 or 2 books in them instead of like 3 or more, because I'm really bad about coming back to update the video and then I just never finish the video. Therefore, it never gets edited or posted. So I'm trying to think of ideas that are like more quicker turnaround type videos, just so I can get in the habit of filming and posting reading vlogs, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I don't know, I'm new to this and I'm just learning as I go. So I follow Ellen Catherine on YouTube and she posts this type of video pretty often. I think like once a month or so. She does a bookshelf scavenger hunt, and so I just went to her video, wrote down all of her questions. So this is 100% inspired by her, and she always does such a good job with these and they're very entertaining, and it's only 1 book in the reading vlog. So all around, I just think it's a really good idea and I'm really excited to do this. So I just watched her video and I just went through and wrote down all of the questions that she used. So the first question on the scavenger hunt list is choose a book with a cover you love and then find a similar cover. So this one's gonna be a little bit hard for me because, like I said, I don't have like a huge book collection, so there's not like I can pick something and then have like a whole bunch to choose from. So I'm just gonna go try to find a cover that I love and one that is somewhat similar to it, like the closest that I can find, and then I will be back with our first book pick. Okay, so the first book that I chose was One for My Enemy by Olivie Blake. I love this cover. It is very unique, and I feel like I don't often see just all white covers, and I really like the red details on this. And the closest thing that I could find to this was City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. They're both white covers with like the black and white design on it, and then there's also the red font up here. So I feel like this is like the closest match that I could find, and I feel like these are the 2 covers I have that aren't in the same series that look the most similar, if that makes sense. So City of Gods and Monsters is the next book that we are going to choose our prompt from. Did that make sense? I hope I'm explaining this in a way that makes sense. So the second question is turn to page 50, then find a book that has one of the words in the title. So we're gonna flip to page 50. Well, I'm just gonna go through and kind of see if there's any words that would stick out. Let's see, we have picture, window, let's see, magic. That would be a good one. Oh, here, this is an easy one. I can do 6. So right here, let me see if I can hold it up in a place where you can see it, where it says 6 Devils. I do have 2 books that have the word 6 in them. I have 6 of Crows, and then I also have 6 Scorched Roses. So let me go grab one of those, and that will be our next book. I chose 6 Scorched Roses because I have read this book before. I've never read 6 of Crows. I've started it, but I've never finished it, so I should probably do that this year. My goal is to read that duology this year. We'll see. So next book is 6 Scorched Roses. This is just the hardcover without the dust jacket on it because I love these hardcovers. They're so gorgeous. So this is our next one. The next question is list some tropes of that book and then find a book with the same tropes. Well, I know that this is vampires. What are the tropes in this? This is a novella, so this is kind of hard. So basically in this book we follow Lilith and she seeks out, what is his name, Vale? Is that, yeah, his name is Vale. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I remembered that. I read this so long ago. So Lilith and Vale is who we follow, and Lilith is, she's basically, I'm pretty sure her city, like her town that she lives in, is this god came in and like cursed their town, and now everybody's like getting sick and dying, and she's trying to find a cure for it. And so she seeks out Vale, who is a vampire, and he's kind of like helping her find a cure for this thing that is going on. So I'm gonna try to find something with somewhat similar tropes, at least vampires in it. I'll find something with vampires. I will be right back. Okay. Hopefully this makes sense. I chose The Revenant Games by Margie Fuston. I feel like this is actually kind of similar. So basically this is about a girl who, her and her sister were like kind of out like having fun one day, and her sister ended up being killed in some way. Honestly, I read this so long ago. Anyway, she enters these trials that are like the vampire and the witches trial situation, and she enters on the vampire side and then ends up seeking out this vampire who then helps her kind of like win these trials. If you win these trials, you can bring somebody back from the dead. So this vampire is helping her win the trial so that way she can bring her sister back from the dead. So I feel like these are kind of similar because they both have vampires. They both seek out a vampire to help them accomplish something. So I feel like these are pretty similar in that way, I guess you could say. So this is the book that we're going to go with. And the next question says, now find a book with the opposite tropes. Okay. I feel like I could just find like a contemporary romance or something, because this is more of like an enemies to lovers fantasy situation. So let me go find like a contemporary romance, like friends to lovers. I can do that. I'll be back. Okay. I feel like I just went with something like the most opposite book that I could find, which is Cross the Line by Simone Soltani. This is a F1 contemporary romance, and this is childhood friends to lovers. So they've always known each other, whereas this is like they just met and they're somewhat enemies. Fantasy, vampires, contemporary, F1 romance, childhood friends. Very opposite. I feel like this works. I feel like this works okay for the prompt. So the next question says, reverse the page number of this book and then find a book with similar number of pages. Let me flip to the back and see how many pages are in this. There's no way. You guys, I can't even make this up. It's 399 pages. So that reverses 993. 993 pages. I think the only book that I have with that many pages is Kingdom of Ash. I think that one's like 980 or something like that. I know The Will of the Many is only like 750-ish. Outlander's like about the same. Same with When the Moon Hatched. I think that one's like around 700. Yeah, I think my only option is Kingdom of Ash. So let me grab that really quickly. Let me just confirm. I'm pretty sure this is like 980. Yeah, 980 exactly. So I feel like that's pretty close to 990, 980. I think that's the closest that we're gonna get. I don't have anything else that is even near that long. I mean, the House of Devil series is pretty long, but those are also all around like 700-ish. I think the last one was like 800, but still, this is like the closest to 990 that we're gonna get. So Kingdom of Ash is our next one. And then the next question says, find a book with a similar color scheme. Well, this is like gray with some orange and the light blue letters. So let me see. This might be kind of hard. Honestly, I have the Eye on the Silver Sea sitting here, which is kind of similar colors. But let me see if I can find something else, and then I will be right back. Okay, so the book that I found that is the closest to Kingdom of Ash is Game of... They don't even look that similar on camera, but my thought process was this has a lot of gray on it and kind of like the gold-ish letters, and then this orange down here on the eyes kind of matches the flowers, and then this letter up here is also light blue, which matches the light blue of the font on Kingdom of Ash. But I feel like the Ever King maybe is a little bit more similar with, because this one has a lot more gray on it. And there's some orangey gold up here, and then the light blue of the water. I don't know. I don't have that many options, to be honest. Like, I feel like we're just gonna have to accept that this is the closest that we're gonna get. We're just gonna go with, this pile is getting quite high. I'm gonna move this over here. Okay, we're just gonna go with the Ever King, because I feel like it somewhat gives similar color scheme, color vibes. Hopefully, I don't know. Anyway, next question is find a book published in the same year. So when was this published? Maybe like 2022 maybe? Oh, 2023. I was close. 3. So let me go find something that was published in 2023. That shouldn't be too hard. and I will be right back. Okay. This is a lot of me just getting up and then sitting back down, getting up and sitting back down. Anyway, I found Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is, it says 2023 right there. So that is when this book was published. So this is the next book that we're gonna go with. And the next question says, go to the first page, count the numbers in the first word, and then find a book title with that many letters. So you go to the first page. Okay, deckled edges are so hard to like flip through. I love the way they look, but they're not very practical. Okay, so the first word in this chapter is, it's focusing on my face, is shadow. So shadow is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So shadow has 6 letters. So I'm gonna go find a book that has 6 letters in it in the title. If I can't find a book that has 6 letters, then I'll just find a book that has 6 words in the title, because I feel like I could do that if not the other. So I will go find one of the other and I will be right back. I did it. I found Enigma, which does have 6 letters in the title. I will say though, I did really enjoy this book. I read this in fall of last year. And if anyone has any recommendations for something that is similar to this, like a dark romance, but isn't dark necessarily like the relationship, just like the other things that are going on in the world, I really enjoyed this. This was really cute. So if anyone has any recommendations for me, let me know, because I really liked this. So the very last question, hopefully this isn't taking too long. The very last question is find a book whose title or author name starts with the last letter of the previous book. Okay, so the last letter is A. So we are going to find a book title or an author whose name starts with A. Okay, I'm going to go look and I will be right back. I have 3 options for this, but it really narrows down to 1 because, oh wait, hang on. I have another option too. Where'd that book go? Okay, well the other option was Queen Bee by Amelie Howard, but I just had that book somewhere. But that just got chosen for a prompt for another video that I'm filming that I just filmed the intro for. So Queen Bee will be read in just another video. So the other options that I have are these 2, which is Crash Test by Amy James, because Amy starts with A. But I think I'm going to try to film a F1 romance reading vlog. So I'm going to save this for that. And then I had The Devil She Knows by Alexandra Bellefleur. And this also I'm going to save for Valentine's reading situation. So the last option that we have and this works out so perfect, like this worked out insanely perfect. An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn, and of course it starts with an A. This is Benedict's story, and his season on Netflix is about to come out in a few days, so this works out so perfect because now I can read this and then watch the show, and maybe we can do all of that in this video. That would be a fun idea, I think. I'm so excited. This worked out so good. What day is it? Today is currently the 26th. 7, 8, 9. So it comes out in 3 days. So I can read this and then watch the show. That will be so much fun. I'm so excited. I know his story is kind of like a Cinderella retelling, I'm pretty sure. Like the girl in this is, I'm pretty sure she's a servant, and then she ends up going to the Bridgerton masquerade ball, and then that's where Benedict finds her and then ends up being very like infatuated with her. I'm so excited to read this. And also I have never read the Bridgerton books like before watching the show. I've only read a few after watching, and the same with Queen Charlotte as well. And I didn't like them as much like reading them after, but I've heard Benedict's book is really good. So I would love to read this before and then watch the show just to kind of like compare and contrast and just be really immersed in his story in the Bridgerton world, because I just love the show so much. I'm so excited. I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this, and then I will update you whenever I have updates, and then maybe we'll watch the show together. I know only the first half is coming out, but still it'll be fun to read this. Oh, I'm so excited. This is so much fun. This is so much fun. Okay, I'll be back whenever I have some updates. That was great. I feel like that worked out really well. It's the middle of the night. I look insane. I need to do an update on this book. Anyways, I am almost halfway through this, and I'm just, you guys, first of all, this is probably the most, like, the fastest paced book I think I've ever read. I'm like, how am I only already over 200 pages into this? Like, I feel like this book is literally flying by. I'm on page 204, so, and there's like 4 50-ish pages in this, so a little under halfway. It is January 28th. Tomorrow is the 29th, which means the show comes out tomorrow. But the good news is they're only putting out half of the show. That's actually bad news. That's actually terrible news. They're only putting out half of the show tomorrow, so even if I don't all the way finish this by tomorrow, it'll be fine because I can still watch like the first few episodes and then finish this, because the second half of the show doesn't even come out for another month. A month. That's just, it's sick and it's twisted and it's rude. Anyway, I'm loving this. I'm so excited to watch the show and see Benedict all like smitten and obsessed with this girl. Like, Benedict is so like casual and chill. He's very nonchalant, but, and like he's had a few little spicy scenes, like a few little friends as he calls them, but nothing like too crazy, like all pretty casual and like experimental, I guess you could say, but nothing where he's like actually invested and interested in like marrying somebody. So when he runs into Sophie, so basically the way that they meet, this is like a Cinderella retelling, and everybody says that, but now that I'm actually reading it, I'm like, oh, this is literally Cinderella. She is a servant and she ends up deciding to go to the Bridgerton masquerade ball. And so she goes there with a mask on her face and her identity hidden, and that's where she runs into Benedict. And Benedict is like quickly intrigued by her because he doesn't know who she is. She's just so different compared to all these other girls. And so he finds himself very like enraptured with her and like trying to figure out who she is. He asks her like a million questions and she gives him nothing, like tells him absolutely nothing. And then at midnight, they're all supposed to take their mask off and, you know, show their face, and she just ends up running off without like telling him his name, showing him who she is or anything. So like years go by after this of him like trying to figure out who she is, because she ends up leaving her glove behind, which has little initials on it. So he's like investigating, trying to figure out who this girl is, and it leads nowhere because he can't figure out who she is. So years go by and then they end up kind of running into each other again, and obviously she knows who he is, but he doesn't recognize her fully at first because she obviously had a mask on and it's been a few years. So, but he has never stopped thinking about that night and like thinking about her, and it's like, and it's so like where I stopped, like literally what I just read was the end of chapter 11, and I'm like, already, like he is so obsessed with her. He's literally so obsessed with her. And I love it. Like I and this, honestly, the plot line of this is probably the most interesting to me, probably besides what Francesca's is going to be, because I think this one's the most interesting because she is literally a servant. Like, yes, she technically is the daughter of an earl, but I'm interested to see how that ties in with her actually being able to marry him, because at the beginning of this, Violet, which is the mom, did say something about like, I would let my kid, like if my kid wanted to marry someone that was lowborn, like I would be okay with that. But like it actually happening would be kind of insane for a Bridgerton to marry someone that was a lowborn. So I'm interested to see if she ends up like getting her title back, or I don't know. I'm just interested to see how all that works out. But I just love them already. Also, I will say, I think what the show definitely does better is having like all the other different storylines and like plot lines going on, especially with like Lady Whistledown and like the other members of the family, because in the book I feel like it's mainly focused on like just the relationship, and like everything else that's going on is like very background, like there's not much detail on any of that. But in the show you get a lot more into that, which I guess because the show, they have a lot more time, and I don't know, the show just does like executes the ton and society and the other family members and like the other people in society, all of the drama, everything with Whistledown, like everything in the show is definitely more like detailed and well done. Like Whistledown in the books, like all you get is like this very little prompt like at the beginning of each chapter, and they're honestly not even that juicy, like that much tea. Like this one literally just says like, oh, Benedict's been out of town for several days and was expected back. Like like in the show, Lady Whistledown is like doing the most. Like she's ratting on Eloise and doing, you know what I'm saying? Like she's like actually throwing people under the bus. Whereas in the book, it's like a lot more subtle, I guess you could say. Because I remember that from the other books too. I was like, I feel like Whistledown's not really like saying that much in the books, but in the show it's a lot more juicier and you get a lot more insight into like other people's stories of what's going on. I just like that the show goes into like a lot more detail and you get a lot more just because you get to spend more time with the characters and like see more things go on. And I just, boy, also with the queen too. Like, why is the queen never mentioned in the books? But in the show, she's like a very big character. I think the show executes a lot better. So I'm excited to watch the show after reading this because I'm already loving this. So I think I'll love the show even more. And then of course I'll give you an update on the book and the show. Oh my god, I'm so excited. This is my time. I feel like this is my time to shine. I don't think I'm being dramatic enough. Like, did I mention that I love Bridgerton? It's been a few days since I finished the book and then watched the show as well, so I need to give like my full update slash thoughts. First of all, I ended up giving this a 4-star rating. If you watched my January wrap up, which went up right before this, then you definitely saw like a little bit more of like my full thoughts already. But I loved this. I thought this was very sweet and very cute. And I was very interested the whole time because I was like, I don't know how they're going to end up making this work. Because I was like, she's a servant and he is a Bridgerton. And I knew, like, obviously I know that she is the daughter of an earl, but she didn't have her title anymore. So I was just curious how they were going to make it work. And honestly, something that happened towards the end of this with Sophie, I was like so thrown off by it. I did not expect that at all. And then the way that Violet just like stuck up for her and Benedict both, and then ended up like basically concocting this solution, I guess you could say. It was very interesting. I truly did not expect any of that to happen, but it was fun. And I'm excited to see if they stick to that same like storyline in the show. We'll see. I don't know. I'm really liking the show so far. Um there was one thing about this that I didn't love, and it was that Benedict got a little bit aggressive in here a few times, which was so out of character for him. I feel like he would never do that because at the beginning of this, he literally sticks up for Sophie because what was his name, like Philip Cavender or whatever, he is like trying to basically rape her. And in the show, he's doing it to a different girl, and then Sophie's like sticking up for her, and then Benedict comes in and like beats him up because he's saying like, I have sisters, I would never want that to happen to my sisters. And then he like ends up getting a kind of aggressive in here a few times, not necessarily to like in his head he was saying like, oh, I almost like kind of want to hit her or something. Like he said something like along those lines, and then he like, Araminta, which is her stepmom, he like grabbed her by the throat at one point. I was like, Benedict would never. Like, I hope that they don't include that in the show because I was a little bit thrown off by that. I was like, Benedict, what is going on, sir? Anyway, I just thought this was really cute. Definitely very much so a Cinderella retelling. I thought it was so cute. I love that I'm just getting more of the Bridgerton world, and I love that we still have so much more to go. Not only with the show, but I still have other books that I can read as well, so I just love that. I'm obsessed with this world. So yeah, I rated this 4 stars. I thought Sophie was fantastic. I love what they did with her in the show. I cannot wait for part 2 to come out. It doesn't come out until like February 26th, I think. So I will definitely be tuned in. I also really love how in the show they kind of changed it to where Benedict like gets the help from Penelope instead of going straight to Violet at first. I like that they kind of included that, which obviously because in the show Colin's season came first, so we already know that Penelope, we know about her storyline, but in the books it's like one behind, so technically we don't know about her yet. But anyway, yeah, I just like that they included like little different things. I love also in the show they're including a lot with Lady Danbury and Queen Charlotte, and there was a scene with them that literally made me cry, because Queen Charlotte, if you've ever watched Queen Charlotte, is so sad. It's genuinely one of the most heartbreaking shows ever, and they included something in there that was like kind of like a callback to Queen Charlotte, and it literally broke my heart. But I'm also really excited for Eloise's book, which is not why we're here. But anyways, loved this. I had a great time doing this. All was because of the bookshelf scavenger hunt, which I feel like was so long ago, and I feel like I could have just made this its own video without even doing the bookshelf scavenger hunt. But you know, I digress. If you haven't read Bridgerton books or haven't watched the show, obviously I recommend. Thank you for watching. Hopefully the bookshelf scavenger hunt part of this went okay. I will definitely be filming another one of those. I might do that like every month. Maybe do like one a month of the bookshelf scavenger hunt type video. I think that would be really fun. Like I said, I just posted my January wrap up, so if you haven't watched that, go watch that. And my next video going up is an F1 romance reading vlog. I read F1 romance books for 24 hours. So if you're interested in that, that will be going up in a few days. So definitely subscribe, like this. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.